On September 12, 1943, deposed Italian dictator Benito Mussolini is rescued by Adolf Hitler. Mussolini was born in Predappio, Italy in 1883, the son of a blacksmith and a teacher. He was mostly self-educated and worked as a teacher and journalist. An outspoken pacifist and Marxist, he led demonstrations against Italy's war in Libya and was arrested and jailed for his efforts. Mussolini became head of the Italian Socialist Party in 1912 and was even praised by Russian communist leader Vladimir Lenin. When World War I broke out in 1914, Mussolini vocally denounced it, but he soon reversed position and broke with the Socialist Party. Mussolini began to advocate for Italy to enter the war on the side of the Allies, hoping his country could recover territory lost to Austria in the 19th century. Mussolini enlisted in the army and was sent to Italy's northeastern border. An expert marksman, he became a skilled sniper. During a training exercise, a mortar exploded, seriously wounding Mussolini and killing 4 of his fellow soldiers. He spent 6 months in the hospital, where 44 shell fragments were removed, and was thereafter discharged. Mussolini then moved to Milan and started a newspaper that he called Il Popolo d'Italia, the people of Italy. First and foremost, Mussolini's paper attacked anti-war advocates, which is ironic because when the war began, he was a fierce anti-war advocate. Mussolini began pushing a new right-wing ideology, and he and some fellow veterans established a group known as the Fasci Italiani di Combattimento, or the Fascists. The group was named for the fasces, an important symbol in ancient Rome made up of a bundle of rods and an axe head. The Romans used the fasces as a symbol of power and authority. A leader who had been given imperium, or the authority to speak and act in the name of Rome, utilized the fasces to demonstrate that imperium. Let's say, for example, that a governor of a Roman province were to meet with a foreign leader. When the Roman governor entered the place where the meeting was to be held, he would be preceded by a group of lictors, who would carry these fasces. This spectacle demonstrated the governor's authority as a representative of Rome. You often see the fasces as a symbol in artwork, in particular in American artwork. The House chamber in the U.S. Capitol has 2 large fasces flanking the speaker's seat. There is artwork featuring George Washington that includes the fasces. The most famous example is the late 18th century sculpture of Washington by Jean-Antoine Houdon, located in the rotunda of the Virginia State Capitol, which shows Washington standing next to the fasces. His cloak covers the axe head, symbolizing the idea that although he had great power, Washington chose not to abuse it. The sculpture of Abraham Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial also features the fasces. 2 sets, in fact, flank him as a decoration on the front of his chair. Mussolini chose the fasces as a symbol because he wanted to promote the idea that he was ushering in a period of Italian glory on par with that of ancient Rome. It's the same reason he used the ancient Roman military salute and implemented archaeological digs to excavate Roman ruins. Many of the familiar monuments of ancient Rome were only partially visible before Mussolini came to power. The structures were either still buried or had been absorbed into the medieval structures of the city. These excavated monuments became showpieces in Mussolini's fascist urban theater. This excavation effort has also shaped how many of Rome's ancient monuments are experienced by tourists today. The road that runs from Piazza Venezia through the ancient Forum to the Colosseum was built by Mussolini and became a fascist parade route with the ancient monuments as a backdrop. Mussolini's fascist movement was extremely right-wing, aggressively anti-socialist, and fiercely nationalistic. Using ancient Roman symbols helped promote Mussolini's Italian nationalism. Mussolini's charisma and his abilities as a public speaker helped his fascist movement to grow rapidly. He forcefully attacked the treaties signed at the end of World War I. He felt Italy had been cheated in these treaties, and that the nation's leaders had let the people down. A major complaint that Mussolini had with the treaties was that, as one of the four victorious major Allied powers, he felt Italy had not gotten its fair share. During the previous century, Austria had seized territory in northeastern Italy that was seen as ethnically and geographically Italian. Mussolini and other Italians felt that Italy should have gained all of that territory back from Austria, which was on the losing side of World War I. Mussolini used this frustration over World War I as a propaganda tool, asserting that the treaties made it seem as if Italy had actually lost the war. Importantly, Mussolini gained the support of wealthy landowners, the army, the church, and Italy's monarchy. Mussolini organized a paramilitary group known as the Blackshirts. It was his personal militia, essentially a street gang. The Blackshirts used violence and intimidation against communists and anyone else who opposed Mussolini. In October 1922, just 4 years after the end of World War I, facing enormous pressure, King Vittorio Emanuele III appointed the 39-year-old Mussolini as prime minister. Once Mussolini was in power, he began working to erode democratic institutions and take away basic rights. In a 1925 speech to the Italian parliament, he essentially declared himself dictator. In just a few years, Italy had become a totalitarian fascist state. Mussolini became known as Il Duce, or the leader. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because Mussolini created a roadmap for Hitler to seize power in Germany. Hitler idolized Mussolini and wanted to do in Germany what Mussolini had done in Italy. However, it took Hitler a few years longer to accomplish his goals. It is borderline embarrassing how much Hitler copied Mussolini. Hitler, for example, copied Mussolini's Roman military salute. Mussolini had the black shirts. Hitler had the brown shirts. Mussolini was known as Il Duce. Hitler was der Führer. Both mean the leader. Their relationship, however, began to change as Hitler became more powerful and more militarily successful than Mussolini. Allied troops invaded Italy in 1943. Many Italians, especially in the South, saw it as a liberation. Mussolini was soon deposed and imprisoned by the Italian government at the Hotel Campo Imperatore at the Gran Sasso ski resort in the Apennine Mountains. German troops, however, still controlled much of Italy. On September 12, 1943, Hitler sent a unit of German paratroopers and commandos on a high-risk secret mission to rescue his idol, Mussolini. German planes launched from an airbase near Rome. The planes towed 10 gliders, each carrying a pilot and 9 soldiers. Meanwhile, 2 paratrooper companies seized the valley station of the funicular railway that led to the resort. The 10 gliders landed on the mountain near the hotel, although one crashed, causing some injuries. The commandos quickly overtook those guarding Mussolini without a shot being fired. This was likely because the German troops had brought along Italian General Fernando Soletti as a hostage. Soletti had been captured by German troops soon after Mussolini's arrest in Rome. The general ordered the guards not to fire, and Mussolini was subsequently released. A German plane arrived and transported Mussolini to the airbase near Rome. He was then flown to Vienna and afterward to Munich. 2 days after the successful raid, Mussolini met with Hitler at the Wolf's Lair headquarters in Poland, the same location where Hitler would survive the 20 July assassination plot the following year. Hitler then installed Mussolini as essentially a puppet leader in still fascist-controlled northern Italy. By the end of the war, most Italians had turned on Mussolini. He was captured by partisans while trying to flee the country and executed on April 28, 1945. He was 61 years old. Mussolini's corpse was gruesomely put on display in Milan, highlighting the hatred now felt for him. Just 2 days later, Hitler chose suicide in part because he didn't want to suffer a fate similar to Mussolini's. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 490 BC, Greek city-states crush a Persian invasion force at the Battle of Marathon. In 1940, the 15,000-year-old Lascaux cave paintings are discovered in France by 4 teenagers. In 1951, Sugar Ray Robinson wins back the middleweight crown before 61,000 in New York City. In 1953, Senator John F. Kennedy marries photographer Jacqueline Bouvier in Newport, Rhode Island. Also in 1953, 6 months after Stalin's death, Nikita Khrushchev becomes leader of the Soviet Union. In 1962, U.S. President John F. Kennedy makes a landmark moon speech at Rice University in Houston. In 1994, a drunk man steals a Cessna airplane in Maryland and crashes it on the White House lawn. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. Which American politician survived an assassination attempt but was left paralyzed below the waist? Greg Abbott, Gabby Giffords, George Wallace, or Leo Ryan? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right next time on Today in History. You made it through Today in History. Nice work. Now treat yourself. Click the video on the right for what happened yesterday in history. Still can't get enough? The link on the left's got the whole playlist buffet. Want to make history a daily habit? Click my face in the middle to subscribe.